Good.
Yeah, and good to go.
All right. Well, Mark, I appreciate it, brother. Appreciate you making time for a little chat.
Anytime. Glad to be here.
It seems like we've got a similar barber.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, I missed the hair a little bit.
Low maintenance, though. I tell you what, it's easy.
It is, but when you don't keep it clean, it starts to look funky, man.
Oh, I know. It's every now and then, if I neglect buzzing mine dial, and I do a lot of camera stuff, I look in the camera like look like an idiotic chia pet or some sort of like just ridiculous thing. So you're totally right about that. Where are you coming from? Where are you living? What
So
state?
so Northern Virginia. So I'm in Herndon, Virginia,
Oh, okay, man. I had lived for about 11 years in Virginia, and Herndon rings a bell for some reason.
right outside of Dulles.
Okay, right outside of Dallas. Okay, cool. Well, I'll tell you what, I've done a bunch of these Linchpin member interviews. They're some of the favorite stuff that I do. And, you had a very interesting things that you wrote me back as to things we would chit chat, but I guess we can start right out of the gates with you're no stranger to this whole doing CrossFit game. You said you've been doing it for about 14 years. I mean, that's a while
Actually,
ago.
so I was wrong. It's 18 years. My math
Oh,
is
really?
terrible. So I started in 2007, and if I'm doing my math correct, there's 25.
Wow.
In 2007 in Iraq. And I had a buddy who had the PDF back in the day, with Bella. Was it Bella? I always forget the dog's name. I should know
The
this as a
dog?
coach. Yeah, so it was on there, and we didn't know what it was. But my buddy was like, "Hey, I heard about this thing, CrossFit. Let's figure this out."
For
So we
some
were on
reason, I
a.
think Bella was one of the Henniger's dogs,
You're you're
my
probably right.
my brain is fried at the moment. But go ahead.
Yeah, so he got this PDF and started ordering random things. We got some rings. Of course, we didn't know what we were doing with them, but gathered up some equipment at the Ford operating base we were on and just started CrossFit. So
Which branch of service were you in?
so Army. So I was an Army military police officer, but ended up on a military transition team on my last tour. So
Okay.
yeah, based out of southern Baghdad, Fab Maya. So 11-man
Okay.
team, and we were different MOSs across the board, and just went to go train the Iraqi National Police, which that was fun.
I was gonna say, I bet there's some stories there. Man, 2007. I, we might have been over there at the same time. I'm gonna get my years mixed up, but sometime in the '07-ish area, '06, '07, I was over there for a little bit after my time in the military doing contract work. But that's
Mhm.
funny, yeah. But yeah, small world.
Yeah, it was a good time because we didn't know what we were doing. I remember the first time we saw Fran, and everybody's like, "Huh?" So, what's this pull up? Didn't know what kipping was. No one knew what that was. We're
Mhm.
trying to do strict pull ups, and arms are on fire, body's just angry. It was a good time
Were you doing it inside one of the gyms there or outside in 120-degree heat?
outside, absolutely outside, because there was a gym,
Perfect.
but it wasn't. There wasn't anything we could throw a barbell around on. I mean, I think we might have acquired a barbell from that gym. Uh,
Hmm.
but yeah, we did the best we could. People didn't know what we were doing, but we were having fun doing it. So it's worth
And
it.
and from that very first inception, did you never look back?
No, I definitely stopped for a little while. There was, so as you alluded to in our conversation over email, late 2007, I got hit with a six pack of explosively formed projectiles. So the basically, for those who don't know, it looks like a paint can, and it's armor piercing. So when it blows, it goes through everything. And we were out on patrol, and I was up in the 50 cal. Gunner was on leave, so I was a captain up in the 50 cal, having a good time. And it took
Mm.
the whole back of our Humvee off, and we saw the hole, unfortunately, or fortunately, and then kind of went blank for about 30 seconds. And our driver was smart enough to stay on the gas to get us out of the ambush. And after it was all said and done, I ended up with the worst of the problems was a traumatic brain injury.
Oh,
Uh,
really?
yeah, but at the time, we were transition teams, and nothing like the SEAL life that you've lived, which is amazing.
Oh,
Um,
no,
you
no,
know,
no, 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 no. Trust me,
oh,
it's not, yeah, go ahead.
still cool, still very much on the cool scale. And you know how it is. There's, when you're out there, we had a medic. We didn't have, field hospital or any of that fun stuff. So, when we did make it back to the fob, a guy looked at me and was like, "You look good to me," and I didn't know any better. I kept running on it, was having migraines daily, but
Oh, I see. So you walked away from that blast somehow with no compound fractures,
well,
all
there,
your
there's
limbs
there's a little bit.
intact.
All limbs are there. So it
Wow.
it it did
Okay.
it fractured my leg, did a little bit of
Okay.
damage to my
Okay.
hip, but we didn't evac. There was no, that's not just how we did it then. And we were so late in '07, we're pre-surge. So our teams were active duty officers, one active duty NCO, non-commissioned officer, and the rest were reservists.
Mm.
So we had a good time. Now we had good folks. I've got no complaints. We had good folks, but it's different when you're not all active. Um,
I, I'm
mhm.
curious. I mean, you said what you just said, maybe because it's been so many years since then, and I've never experienced anything like you just said at all. So I have no reference point. So I may be about to ask a bunch of dumb, stupid, or potentially insulting questions,
No such thing.
none of which is my intention. You said what happened like very casually, better, very matter of factly, and then just
Hmm.
moved right on from it. Ah,
Hmm.
the thing went boom, this happened, and here we are, and I started getting some migraines. Like, okay,
Hmm.
like great, but I would tend to think if you were on the receiving end of that, it's not that casual sentence. I mean, what happened the next time that you had to climb into the vehicle to go outside the wire? Was it still creeping in your head, or did you get right over it? What was
None.
the deal?
No, right over it. And the
Wow,
the major that
really?
was, I know I'm weird. Uh, so I get this a lot, and my license plate is too slow. So most people, and it's a Purple Heart plate, so most people don't get the joke. But to me, I had our team chief, who was the major, explain it the best to us. He said you're born with either a huge cup of that can handle shock and awe and everything else, and that intolerance, or you're born with a small cup.
Mm,
And then you pair that with, and not to get, I don't want to sway too far off topic, but if you have religion, whatever that may be, right? I think that takes
hmm.
care of the rest. And I've got a huge cup, right? I don't stress. I don't overflow. So
Really?
I don't. And we were there during the surge, as that kicked, and we were seeing IEDs all the time. We were seeing Abrams knocked out with them, Bradley's knocked out with them, teams getting taken out. And my whole theory was that, I'm here to do a job, and I got to make sure that my brothers on the left and right, that they're good to go home. And if it happens to be my day, well, I mean, got to say something about Sunday school back in the day, right? I feel like, I have my beliefs, and it's going to be what it's going to be. And I
So
think it
you
does. Mhm.
you walked in and you had this belief structure prior to the explosion, because I know some
Mhm.
people come to these feelings afterwards.
Mhm. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. It was all
Wow.
before. It's a strong religious family. The background, I'm probably not as holy as I should be according to my family, but I try. Uh, it happened, and you got to move from it. I mean, even post. So in the very truncated version is, after that tour, I came back. I redeployed to Fort Carson, Colorado.
Mm.
Was back in a battalion position as an S3, and
How long was your rehab from your injuries, like with your leg and everything?
oof, it was just a couple of months.
Okay.
Now it's something that has plagued me, for years. And even today, anytime there's cold weather, I know it's coming. So
Right.
cold or rain, man, I'm all about it. So, it could have been a lot worse. But came redeployed to Carson, and I was sitting in my battalion commander's office one day, and he looked at me and he said, "Tippett, what's wrong with you?" And I started laughing. I was like, "Sir, that's a long and distinguished list. What you got?" And he said, "You've been in here 5 times in 10 minutes and asked the exact same question." And
Oh, really?
yeah, and I was like, okay, because I hadn't been diagnosed with a TBI. We were still downrange. There wasn't any of that. It was, hey, can you see straight? Here's some ibuprofen. Let's move on. Uh, so I
Mm.
ended up going to the traumatic brain injury clinic on Carson and did my first round with the doctor. And she starts asking questions that we don't think about in our day to day. She's like, "All right, Mark, what's 12 plus 5?" And I was like, "I don't know, 30." You know, and I'm a rather learned man. And she said, "Hey, can you tell me what day it is?" Hey, I think it's Wednesday. And she's, "How about the months of the year? Can you tell me those?" No chance. "Can you tell me your phone number?" No chance. "Can you tell me where you live?" No, but I can get there. I know I can tell you what road to go down and where to take a right. So
At this point in time, before your was it your CO? Who was it that you asked
yeah,
the
as our battalion commander. Yeah.
your battalion commander? Yes, same question to 5 times. Had it, were you aware that anything was wrong? Had it materialized before that? Were you dating anybody? Were you married? Was there somebody you interact with that was like, Mark, what's going on, dude? You got the biggest scatterbrain in the world.
So I was married at the time. First wife, God bless her, amazing woman. I think she'd probably said, "Hey, you seem forgetful." But
Mm.
like I said, day to day life, day to day military tasks, there was no change. I mean, if you were to say, "Hey, go write an op order," off to the races I go.
Hmm.
Go write a training plan, off to the races I go. But you get into the finite things, it made no sense. And it wasn't until the colonel I was working for said that to me, it hadn't clicked that there was something seriously wrong. And that's where I got scared. I say I've got this big cup, but that when somebody's saying, "Hey, man, you can't tell me how to get to your house," it's a problem. So
Right.
yeah, so I end up going through a ton of different evaluations. They tried all sorts of medication to the degree that they actually stopped me from doing PT because I was going to PT, I was performing with the unit. I don't remember any of it. And I'd wake up or come to life, for lack of a better term. The lights would come on in the driveway covered in sweat in my Jeep.
Oh
And,
my
and,
goodness.
and I'm going, I'm looking at my watch. I'm going, it's 8 o'clock. I'm like, I'm covered in sweat. Obviously, I've done something, right? I'm not
Hmm.
just sitting in my car sweating. So I go inside and ask the wife and say, "Hey, did I go to PT?" She's like, "Yeah, sure did." So eventually, they said, "Okay, no more PT. You're dead man walking at this point." And
What year is this?
oh God, that was 2009.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
And
they
how many
worked,
years into your military career is 2009?
I was at year number 10.
Okay. Okay.
So, they kept me for a year, kept working on me, and finally medically retired me.
Mm.
And the hard part for me was after the episodes of waking up where I didn't know where I was at, and, or they said I'd be running along people and I wouldn't say a word. And that's not me, Pat. I'm a talkative man. So, the doctor said, "Hey, no more PT for you ever." They're like, "Nothing. It's going to aggravate the brain injury." Because, if you look back at, 08, 09, brain injuries were still relatively new, when it comes to the medicine and how the treatment plan was. Um, so they didn't know what to do with me, which was a bummer, right? Because all we ever asked for, at least in my opinion, in our military career, is a chain of command that is awesome. And I was surrounded by amazing human beings. Like I'd gone the previous years and had pretty good places.
Hmm.
I did my time in the old guard here in DC, which is a blast. Just an honorable thing to do. And then I get out there at Carson, I'm ready, and they're like, "Hey, bud, I don't want to tell you this, but we're gonna retire you."
That's,
And
I'm sure that was a tough one to hear.
it was weird. Um, I knew I understood it from the perspective of, should I deploy again and get hit with something else? Who knows what the side effect is?
Right.
And have to take care of the family. Um, the hard part was that I wasn't done. And, I was just
Mhm.
having fun. And I don't know if I would have done 20. I like to say I probably would have. But my whole
If you
thing
get
was,
if you get a brain injury or TBI, are you more susceptible to having it happen again?
yes,
Okay.
absolutely. So the lingering effects from it at this point are just migraines. And this is significantly better than, 10 years ago. It's, a barometric pressure change sets it off. If I get real creative, significant amounts of muscle ups, because you have to throw your head forward, which is something I
Mm.
had to unlearn, which was a lot of fun.
Hey man,
Burpee.
I would
Mhm.
just use it as a great excuse to do things I don't want to do. Like, hey, I can't do burpees, man. I can't move my head like that. Sorry, no burpees for me.
No, but there's no fun in that. Like there is no fun. So, fast forward a couple of years, I'm retired. I'm working the civilian side, so I'm a GS civilian. So I've been with the government now, what, 16 years, somewhere on there. Um, I end up here in Herndon, and I'm actually doing something different from CrossFit. I'm doing Mark Twights programming from Jim Jones.
Oh
Because
yeah, yep.
yep. So we all remember that, right? That was, we all saw what 300, and I was like, man, I gotta look like that guy.
Oh yeah.
So I'm just trying to get back into it. I'm still not running well because of my leg and my hip. I'm pretty overweight. I'm not morbidly obese by any means, but I'm probably packing an extra 50 at this point. So I start looking around, and I find this place called CrossFit Wrestling. Maggie and Jeff Tencher.
Oh yeah, man, you found a good one.
I did, and I was actually at Dunkin' Donuts when Maggie pulled up in her old Humvee,
Or
and
Hummer.
I'm a fat kid with a donut here, and I'm like, "Hey, you got a gym? Can I work out there?" So of course, and Maggie's like, yeah, buddy, come to my
Maggie's
gym."
about as much as a straight shooter as you're ever gonna find.
And that's where my love of CrossFit began. And I spent 10 years at Reston as a coach,
Okay,
and
cool.
Maggie and Jeff are the most amazing people. Um, I could go for hours on stories about them, but I'll tell you this to truncate and not drag too long on you, is that anytime I'd coach in the 10 years I was there, that if I knew either one of them were coaching, I'd go in before my shift just to
Mm,
watch, because there's just this master class that these two put on. And I could sit and watch Jeff and Maggie for hours, Pat. I mean, something new, especially with Maggie being headquarters staff and Jeff was for a long time.
hmm
Just this master class that you'd pick up from them.
Jeff
And
also like didn't age.
no, he doesn't. And I haven't figured that out yet. It might be the firefighter and the rage in him that keeps him young. I don't know.
I don't
Uh,
know.
but yeah, it's just it was something else. I mean, learning, being a fledgling coach under those guys was the best thing that ever happened to me in CrossFit. And
Oh
Maggie,
yeah. I mean, that's a great place and great people.
hmm and they recently sold the gym, so Reston's now owned by somebody else. I think Jeff still owns Fairfax. Um,
Mm.
they're not in the area, but they had a change of ownership, and after my decade there, when I found out they were selling, I moved on to a smaller gym because Reston is one of the bigger gyms in the area. It wasn't uncommon to have 40 or 50 40 people in a class, so two coaches, and we're having a party while this is going on. I said, you get tired at some point of just how big it is. It's
Mm.
amazing, right? I mean, the coaching is still top notch there. But I said, hey, let me go to this other gym and I want to try something a little smaller. It kind of hopped around a little bit before work just finally got in the way. And CrossFit Sterling, I was there for a couple of years. The Johnson family, unfortunately, that gym closed. And then there was CrossFit Black Widow, which maybe I'm a curse. I was there for a year and that place closed. And then I had one more very short stint about 6 months ago where a buddy of mine said, "Hey, look, I need coaches. Can you help me?"
Okay.
And I said, "Sure, let's do this." But then I just realized with work, it's impossible at this point. It's I work in emergency management, and it's just the schedule is insane. But yeah, CrossFit is amazing. I mean, I know I'm preaching to you, and you know this. Like, just we look at all the strength we have, and the doctors told me after I got hit, they said, if you weren't as in shape as you were, you'd be a lot worse off.
I
And
believe it. And just for the rehab process, being strong is very helpful for rehab and not only surviving initial trauma, but
Mhm.
then, once your body's trying to get back to homeostasis, it's better to have a somewhat fit body than an unfit body. That's for darn sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting when you were talking earlier. You're asking about the side effects of it all. Getting back in the Humvee the next day, was it hard? It probably took 5 years for the reality of what happened to hit me. And it,
Interesting. Okay.
just kind of cruised down their line, just kept doing it. I'm one of those guys that I do what's in front of me. I'm like, there's a task we're going to overcome. Let's go. No questions asked. And it seems the older I've gotten, the more that it hit me. And I was like, man, I really almost bought the farm, and
Hmm.
looking at other friends who didn't make it back. And, there's just so much there. And it became interesting, right? Because the spirituality of it all, the trauma of it all, unpacking that. I have found that for me, my church is sitting behind me or in an affiliate that I can drop into and throw some weights around because, without that, I'd be a basket case. Like that's my salvation.
So it's as much for you physical to strengthen your body as you just need it for between the years as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I can relate to that on a particular level for sure. Now when you reflect back on it and you're aware of your own mortality and just how lucky you were, does it look differently through that lens, or is it still, I mean, I guess, does it hit you harder and affect your outlook on life or appreciative? But like you said, it's just the task at hand and you're just driving forward and it's still in the rearview mirror.
It's still in the rearview mirror. And they're I think the only time it's not in the rearview mirror is when we get to Memorial Day.
Mm,
For as you know, that's a hard day. And that's where it hits me hard. And it's weird because, the farther I get from that time frame, we're a long ways away now, the harder that day becomes, you know,
Interesting. Yeah.
and that's okay. I think that's okay. I think, as we age gracefully, we start to look at those things and do a deeper dive on ourselves. Um, but definitely I will say that I don't take any day for granted, you know, that's for sure.
What is the treatment for TBI?
So there isn't one. I've been all over the spectrum on this. I've seen everything from heavy medication where I was up to 9 to 10 medications a day, to a doctor telling me, and this is where I drew the line years ago. A doctor said, "Well, how about we try lithium?"
Mm.
And I was like, "How about no?"
Huh.
And it's, and I have all power to those who need it and it helps them. But I was like, "Yeah, we're not messing with that." What I found was getting with an internist, an internal specialist, to kind of look at all the levels. Testosterone was shot, and most people have seen that from adrenal fatigue for being downrange.
Mm.
Just living a healthy diet, eating clean, right? I know, 20-year-old Mark just threw up at that whole thought, right? But by eating clean and getting your body back in order, getting your testosterone right, just getting everything back to where it should be, it kind of leveled it out. So,
Is
but
any
this,
damage that's done, is it, does it get better or not? Or it's like to this day, if somebody asks you your address, you can't remember it.
oh no, it's 200% better. So, all of that's back. All of my cognitive functions are back. There is nothing of that left. The What is left is if I have a migraine set off from, like, say, barometric pressure, doing something dumber than usual in the gym, um, it will definitely manifest in forgetfulness. The moment I
Mm.
have a migraine, I will start losing things, and my temper actually goes. And
Huh.
it's all related. So what the neurologists have always told me is, like, you're taking a bruised brain, and you're just shaking it. Like, and when you do that, that's when you're going to see, the worst side of things. But no, it took, so it's probably 5 or 6 years to get the rest of the comprehension back. Um, I had an eidetic memory prior to the event, and that is long gone. Now it's a misplaced smattering of words that I remember when I think of that. Um,
When you get
it,
that migraine and you start to lose some things, those things I'm guessing return once the migraine subsides.
they do, they do. I will start to stutter when the migraine hits. I become excessively irritable. God bless my current wife. She's amazing too. She realizes it, and she has the more patience than any human being I've ever met, because she accepts me for me, and she goes, "Okay, I realize what's happening right now." So she'll kind of step back and
Mm.
give me the space to recover. Um,
Can you feel one coming on, and then do you do something to like prep the space, or they just come on quick?
it comes on quick, so I always have a headache. That never changes, and it's kind of a joke when my primary care provider is a retired armor officer, so we joke all the time, and he's like, "I want to ask if you feel normal, but I know you have a headache." I'm like, "Yeah, man,
I'm
it
gonna
is
guess
what
that
it
you have
is."
ringing in your ears as well.
I do have tinnitus like a boss. So it's funny. Next weekend, next Friday, I'm going to fit with hearing aids finally, which was
Mm.
that was a hard one to swallow. I've been fighting that for years, and went to a VA appointment, and the guy started trying to use sign language on me. And I stopped. I said, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "Can you hear me?" I was like, "Yes, I can hear you." So it's time. But
Mm.
yeah, that's really it. So I've kind of lucked out. um, everything came back, and it just took time. And that's what the neurologists keep saying, is that they don't know. Like, it could get better. This could be it. And if this is it, I'm fine with it. This is great.
Interesting. That's wild. And you mentioned a couple things, but are there any things in the regular daily workouts you just have to, that you're going to modify, you have to avoid? It's just unintelligent to do it.
Pat, I'm not an intelligent man. So when usually burpee box jumps are kind of the evil. That's like the most evil thing I can do to my body, but I don't care.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna do it. No, I don't modify as much as I should. I think pride gets in the way,
Mm.
and I would say that's definitely that definitely is the fight that I fight all the time. Um, Muscle ups, as we were talking about earlier, throwing the head forward after about 10. I'm setting off a migraine.
Mm.
But there's somewhere in there when it's just, it's fluid, it feels good. You're hitting that hollow rock, you're turning over. I'm like, yeah, man, I could do this all day long, but I know the damage it's doing. Um,
And are there things or activities or sports or recreational things in regular life that you know you have to avoid for your head?
yes, yes. So spent a lot of my life playing soccer at multiple levels. I can't play soccer anymore. I am not disciplined enough to not hit a ball.
Mm-hmm.
So my wife still plays. She's all out there kicking around, and I'll go knock around a ball with her. I have to make myself get away from a ball in the air. Like I can still chest trap and bring it down, but the moment I touch my head, it's instantaneous. Because
Oh,
once again, you're just doing that, and so I avoid that at all costs. Roller coasters, can't touch them. Still love them. It's the weird things you don't think about. Like playing with my daughter's 15 now, and you want to swing your daughter around. I know you have your small ones, and you want to
mm-hmm.
swing them around. I can't do that.
Mm.
That's an immediate. So just being aware, it's assuming some risk, right? Because you have to. I feel like you
Does
have to test that boundary.
does anything help make the migraines go away quicker, or do you just need to wait them out?
So I actually have a sumatriptan injection. Um, and I feel like as I've gotten older, I've become more scared of the needle. So they're almost like an atropine injector. So you hit it injects. There used to be a time I could just, all right, here we go. And now I got to work myself up to it. I gotta go walk around the house and say some bad words.
Get
And
fired up.
yeah, because it sucks. And that's really it, that and time. But I don't like using any type of narcotic.
Mm.
I mean, we've got friends, I'm sure, that have gone down the wrong path because of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I will take a boatload of ibuprofen well before I pull an injection out, and that is an absolute last resort.
Are you able to sleep well?
No, no. I mean, it comes in spurts. I feel like it'll go a couple months and I'm just fine. I'll get 6 to 8, each night, and then I'll get those 4-hour nights that'll
Mm.
go on for a couple weeks, then it reverts back. And I don't know if that's symptomatic of the injury or just post military. I've never gotten past that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Wow. Oh man, it's always fascinating talking to people. Everybody works out for a different reason.
Mhm.
We're all in it together, but everyone's little story and journey is so interesting and unique. And of course, yours is no different. I'm profoundly happy to hear that given what occurred, it seems like you're probably doing, given the circumstances, about as good as you could hope,
Mhm.
all things considered. Preferably it never would have happened.
Yeah, right.
And we're telling a much more boring story right now. But given the fact that it did, and then probably then the question becomes, okay, this happened. How close to a quote unquote normal or high quality of life can I figure out a way to engineer? It seems like you've
Mhm.
done a good job engineering it.
So it's yes, thank you for that comment. I deeply appreciate that, coach. It's a couple of things, right? So I had a community behind me after the injury in Reston, at CrossFit Reston and CrossFit Fairfax. That was everything. I needed that. I needed that to get set. I had amazing family around me, amazing friends around me, but also made a decision, right? So there is a veterans, and I don't want to name a veteran service organization that puts it in a weird good or negative light. Uh,
Okay.
but there's a very prominent one that used to be involved with the military for a long time, and they were very good to me. But I went to one of their events a couple years after injury, and I was disgusted. And
Hmm.
not to say I was disgusted with the program, it was the people. Now, I feel like you have two paths in life, right? You can do one of two things. You can lay down and die, or you can get up and go, right? And I was around people, and granted, people are at different stages post injury, and I completely get that. There's some bad times to be had there. But I saw people that were hiding behind their injury and wanted to be known by their injury. And
Hmm.
I kind of made a decision then and there. And I was like, yeah, I'm not Mark the guy with the TBI. You know, I want to be Mark the guy that's doing everything he can to succeed and to build a better place for the people around me and my family. And that's made just a huge difference. I try to surround myself with like-minded people who are just ready to keep going, and I want to help those who can't get there. It's part of what I loved about being a coach, right? We'd get a vet in. have somebody coming that had some bad times, man, I would love to spend my time there. I'd say, come here, let's talk about how to get you healthy. Let's get you better. Let's get you a better job. Let's find everything you can get, but you got to make that choice to do it yourself. If you don't make the choice, you're just, you're going to just float away. You're going to be that person that's known by that injury and maybe be stuck in that cycle. And everybody deserves the opportunity to get out and to excel.
I could not have said it better. I think that's a great message, regardless of the circumstances you come from and what you have or have not gone through. What happens to you does not necessarily need to define you or be your identity.
Mhm.
I think that's very powerful, very true. Man, I want to say genuinely, like, thank you for sharing your story, for being so open and honest about it. And it is, I say it all the time, it's because it's true. It is people like you that make Lynchpin special. So, Mark, thanks, brother. Thanks for talking today.
Thanks, Coach. And I appreciate you because you allowing us to build this community and setting the foundation for it is so it's amazing. You are giving all these amazing people in your community a chance to grow and to get stronger and be injury free with amazing programming, with great words of wisdom. And of course, we love seeing the videos you put out about everybody. So thank you for everything you do.
It is 100% my plate. Hey, all of you make it easy. So I will see you online, my friend.
Thanks, brother. You have a good day.